Hi, I'm Cassie J, LaCourse, and I'm here at Legendary Beads in Austin, Texas, and I'd like to talk about wire wrap jewelry design concepts. When you're talking about design, it's not something that is easily taught, but I would like to tell you a few of my tricks and a few of my inspirational things. With this piece here, it has a very nice vintage look to it, and there are elements of color blocking and elements of kind of an antique design feel. So what I do in the process of making jewelry is I usually find my inspiration bead. And in this instance, this turquoise Picasso glass bead was my inspiration. So I took that, and from there, I chose a supporting bead, something that also had a similar feeling. And it was this glass bead here, which happens to be another Picasso bead, which is just the style type. And it's smaller, has the vintage feel to it, and it supports this one. So I did multiples of 3s mixed with chain media. So this is the wire wrap here. This is the chain media. And this bead is smaller but has a similar feel, so we're working backwards. And I think that working in 3s and 5s, anytime you can work in odd numbers is good. So with the earrings, the color design theory that you have here is color blocking. And everybody knows that corals and reds look great with turquoise. So this bottom bead here is really making the color pop. And you can see I didn't use any red in the necklace, which brings some interest to the earrings and to the set itself. Overall, a nice vintage look, supported by the vintage brass. So those are some design concepts. And in this piece, you'll also find design elements that are challenging to the wire wrapping situation, because you have what's called a top drill bead. A top drill bead is a side-to-side bead that has a natural drop shape to it. You'll find briolets are like that. In this instance, it's just a smooth glass bead. And then you have a vertical drill bead, which means it goes from top to bottom, so it's drilled this direction, whereas this one is drilled this direction. And the reason why I point that out is it brings in design challenges when you're choosing your beads. So what I have here is I have some wire, and I have a couple beads that match the beads in the necklace. They're not the same color, but they're the same concept. This one here is the top drill from left to right. It's a natural drop shape. It lends itself to be a pendant. I've got some brass wire, and I've got my tools, so I'm going to do some wire wrap for you. For the top drill bead, you're going to go into the bead, leave one of your wires short and one of your wires long. This is approximately 2.5 inches of wire. I'm going to bring the two wires together towards the top of the bead in an X shape. See the X? So I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to grab the wire directly above, not at, but directly above the cross, and I'm going to utilize the bead to twist the wire down. See how it crawls towards the bead? Going to release. I'm going to take my trimmers and I'm going to cut that tail off. Oh, flew somewhere. Now, the next thought process is which way I want my loop to go. And in this instance, you can see it's going this direction, east to west. And when you go this direction, I call it north to south. So I'm going to do the same thing with this bead, which means I'm going to make a 90-degree bend east to west. I'm going to take my round nose. I'm going to place it perpendicular to the top of that bend. And I'm going to bring the wire over the top of the tool. I'm going to twist my wrist just a quarter and tuck that tail under, creating a loop. Now, very importantly, you want to stabilize that loop once you get a good loop. Don't forget to attach it to whatever you're attaching it to. In this instance, I would be attaching it to this link here. But for purposes of instruction, I'm going to close the loop. Take my needle nose, and I'm going to wrap the wire around multiple times, covering the original twist. There we go. So I've got a little bit of a tail that I'm going to take my flush cutters, cut that tail off, pinch the little tail in so that it doesn't scratch anybody or doesn't attach to anybody's clothing. So here you've got a top drill link. So those are a few concepts of wire wrap design, as well as bead shapes and challenges.